We forgot to double check that our iPad had the Facebook app. Our phones all do, but the tablet does not. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our moderator, who is Bill, and please enjoy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and candidates. Welcome. I really appreciate your support of our fine institution of democracy, which makes our country a grand country and a great process to participate in. This evening, what we're going to do is we're going to ask each of the candidates to come first to the podium one at a time, and they will be speaking for 5 minutes each with their opening remarks. Now, either Angela or Elise will be giving us the signal with a yellow paddle, 45 seconds left. When the red paddle comes up, oh, Donna, you're doing the paddling. Okay, let's have a round of applause for our paddler, Donna. Yes, indeed. Yes. When that red paddle comes up, it's time to sit down and be quiet. So we will be asking each candidate to come up and give us a 5-minute introductory remarks. So the order for this evening's speakers are to begin with Paul Ripka, followed by Doug Phelps, and followed by Eric Schmaltz. So I'm pleased to be your moderator. I'm the second vice chair of the Chamber of Commerce. This is first for us. And I'm sure that with election season heating up, you'll see a lot more of us around. There'll be plenty more opportunities to have these kind of forums. So sit back, enjoy. Think of the questions that you want to raise, write them down on a piece of paper, bring them on up, and we'll do our best to make sure that everybody gets a chance to ask their questions. So without wasting any more time, let's ask Mr. Paul Ripka to please come to the podium.
Hello everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I am Paul Ripka. I've been on the RM Council for the past 13 and a half years. Born and raised in the Arm of Prince Albert, farm here with my wife Tina, grain and cattle, as well as running a small construction company specializing in land clearing and caterpillar work. Raised our 4 kids here. They all attended East Central School. Some of them have settled back in the RM and having their own families now, and now we're currently raising 4 of our grandchildren. I've thoroughly enjoyed my years on council. You never know in the political world what kind of a ball can be pitched in your court, and sometimes things happen that are totally beyond your control. So I found the only way to approach the matters at hand when I was at Reeve, there was a complaint came against me, but everything was sitting stagnant, so I resigned. I was not forced to resign. I did it on my own free will. So the people of the RM of Prince Albert can decide themselves who they want to be Reeve, and how much, how would you say, not meddling, but how much big business wants to get their fingers into the operation and governance of the RM of Prince Albert. My career before the RM, I worked several years for the Department of Highways as a lab technician. That's why I have an excellent understanding of aggregates. We stopped one of the gravel hauls years ago. We were getting 65% fines on the road. Our tender called for 65% rock. We changed that. Everyone can see for the last few years the higher quality gravel on the roads. We pushed very hard to cut crowns off the road, or crown the road and cut the edges off so the water would drain off them. We've been actively building up our roads. We went through the flooding periods here for the last 8 years, some of the worst times the RM has ever seen. We've built certain roads up 4 different times, and we're continuing to build them up. We've had houses flood out. We've worked through provincial disaster relief, and we overcome as good as we could. I'm going to have a hard time using up 5 minutes, and usually I don't have trouble talking. I guess that's about all. I had my handouts out. You guys have all read them. Everyone has read them. I don't need to spend council humbly 13 and a half years ago for learning. I learned from some very good people, and I think we still have a lot of things that I'd like to see accomplished in the RMPA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. Our second presenter tonight is Mr. Doug Phelps. Doug, forward, please.
Good evening. With age comes bad eyes. I'd like to thank the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce for organizing tonight's debate and the Getting to Know You session. Also, it is good to see interested RM ratepayers come out to this event. Thank you for coming. My name is Doug Phelps, and I'm running for the PA-RM Reeve position on June 12, 2019. If elected, I will be the strong voice and presence that our RM needs in the surrounding area and province. So who am I? Well, first off, I am your neighbor, a born and raised farm boy. I own and operate a third-generation family farm with my wife, Karen, also born and raised in this RM, and our 2 adult sons. We reside on the quarter section my great-uncle homesteaded in 1906. Our oldest son, Logan, farms with us, works at Redhead, and is pursuing a journeyman certificate in heavy-duty ag mechanics. Our youngest son, Colton, has autism and epilepsy and lives at home with us, contributing to our family and farming operation in many ways. I believe that you must serve your community to have a strong community. That is how I was raised. I'm a natural leader and was my father, Charlie, in his days as councillor, Reeve, and president of SARM. Since I announced my intentions of seeking the Reeve position, I have had the opportunity to listen to the hopes and concerns of our farmers, ranchers, members of the business community, ag business owners, and acreage owners. One thing I know is that government needs to listen and weigh issues carefully when it comes to meeting the needs of the people and spending precious hard-earned tax dollars. A Reeve needs to have a strong vision for their RM, a vision that is built by people like you, people who are willing to invest in our community and our future. New, reasonable rural development can take place for the benefit of all RM residents and taxpayers. Being the gateway to the north, I feel our area is very well situated to be able to become the home base to the commercial businesses who are the main suppliers to a lot of the industry that is developing in the area, and especially to the north of us. As a strong leader, I will endeavor to guide council to the right decisions as Reeve. A good working relationship with our skilled administrator and office staff will be key. I plan to build and maintain good working relationships with the city and surrounding RMs. I've learned about the award-winning PREDA and some of the exciting opportunities that it offers to the region. I feel that infrastructure and equipment must be maintained so the very capable foreman and crew can deal with the maintenance and construction of the many miles of roads in our RM. I believe in building roads, but only where they are needed, not just building for the sake of building. It needs to make sense for the benefit of all residents. Rural crime, an issue myself and my neighbors have been significantly affected by. Inherently, a very difficult issue to solve. I was optimistic that the national study on rural crime would have tackled this complex issue and put forward some valid suggestions to combat rural crime. Instead, I share SARM President Ray Orb's disappointment with the report. I feel our best option at this point is to pursue a more serious plan through SARM and our provincial government to pressure our federal government to provide more funding for RCMP and more RCMP members. I am pleased to know there have been local crime watch groups established, this being one way we can reduce crime at the local level. Neighbors watching out for neighbors. Putting your name forward is a humbling experience. Listening to your concerns has strengthened my resolve to be the strong voice you deserve. I hope to continue to earn your confidence as a Reeve, someone who is reachable and approachable, a Reeve who listens well and seeks out the answers and actions you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doug. And Eric, if you come to the podium, please, for your opening remarks. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Schmaltz, and I'm here tonight as a candidate vying for the position of Reeve in the arm of Prince Albert. My goal this evening is the same that has been this entire campaign: to impress upon you, the good people of the community, that I am the best choice to serve as your Reeve. My campaign platform from the beginning has been built on 3 pillars: crime reduction, economic development, and infrastructure. Criminal activity and theft are huge problems in our region, and as a veteran of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, this is where I believe I have a great deal of insight. I understand the ins and outs of frontline operational policing. I understand the immense pressure for resources faced by our police services and will work as a bridge between the police and council to come up with unique and collaborative solutions to help mitigate crime in the RM. I will assist council and administration in working with our provincial government through programs like Safer Communities and Neighborhoods, otherwise known as SCAM, as well as our municipal law enforcement stakeholders on strategies to curb criminal activity throughout the region. If possible, I will advocate for things like strategic police patrolling, possible bylaw enforcement, or programs like Citizens on Patrol, which would work in conjunction with the already existing rural crime watch groups. These initiatives have proven effective in combating criminal activities in other communities where I served as a police officer. Crime in the arm of Prince Albert is a serious issue that requires experience, serious attention, and action. Economic development is of vital importance to ensure a vibrant and growing RM and region. As a business owner and entrepreneur, I understand the importance of branding and preparing a portfolio to present to potential developers, businesses, and investors who may be looking to us as a place to set up shop. Commercial investment will create opportunities for employment and services that will benefit everyone. As Reeve, I will work with council and administration to develop a plan to entice companies and developers to our region through our own efforts, as well as efforts under the newly formed Prince Albert Regional Economic Development Alliance. A broader tax base created by investment will lessen the tax burden on existing businesses, farmers, and residents. An influx of investment will greatly augment the RM's ability to deliver new and existing services and infrastructure to everyone. Now, aside from being a business owner and resident, I am also a farmer in the RM of Prince Albert. RM Council and administration have done a commendable job repairing damaged infrastructure over the last decade. As Reeve, I will work with council to ensure we continue investing in vital infrastructure used by everyone. I believe roads and road maintenance in the entire RM of PA are key investments that need to be placed near the top of the priority list. The majority of land in the RM of PA is farmland, and it is incumbent upon council and administration to make sure farmers can get in and out of their fields at key times of the growing season. It is also incumbent upon council and administration to ensure residents and business owners have full access to their homes and places of work. Infrastructure maintenance and creation needs to be done in a measured way, ensuring fair and equitable delivery of services to everyone. And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to express my thanks to the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce for their initiative in providing this platform so that the electorate may have access to the candidates directly. I would also like to thank each and every one of you here tonight and those of you tuning in on the live stream. Your interest and engagement are vitally important to every facet of our democracy. I look forward to engaging with you this evening and answering your questions to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we move into the second part of this evening's forum. This is the part that I like to call the firing line, my favorite part. What we're going to do is we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes. At the point where they have 30 seconds left, their red paddle will come up, and that'll be the signal that you've got 30 seconds. So we're going to switch up the order a little bit that the people or that the candidates answer the questions in. So we're going to start, the following order will be Doug, Eric, and then Paul. The first question is, what is your plan to strengthen the RM's current relationship with the City of Prince Albert? You have the wireless mic there? Okay, so Doug, when you're ready. The question is, what is your plan to strengthen the RM's current relationship with the City of Prince Albert?
There's that better. As Reeve, I will definitely be open to work with the city and surrounding RMs with any issues that arise, and with council's, of course, approval. It's something that has to be talked about, but basically, it depends on what comes up.
Is that it? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll pass the microphone over to Eric. Eric, the question again is, what is your plan to strengthen the RM's current relationship with the City of Prince Albert?
I think that any inroads that are made through relationships that you've previously developed in private life or in business life with the City of Prince Albert are always an asset. And we've had a working relationship with the City of Prince Albert through business for many years. And we spent a lot of time in the same circles as a lot of the councillors and the mayor, and we have a good connection to them already. What I would like to see done is that council and Reeve set up not a forum, but a meeting, or a monthly meeting where we can all sit together and discuss the issues that are happening in the region, areas that we could work together symbiotically and be able to develop solutions to problems that we might come up in those meetings. That's where I think that we could strengthen our relationship there. And also, I think that the development of a lot of the steps have been taken already through council by the implementation of the new Regional Economic Development Alliance. That's something that's huge. That's going to reap great benefit for everyone involved, including both the RM of Prince Albert and the city proper.
Thank you, Paul. Pardon me, sorry, Eric. Paul, question again. What is your plan to strengthen the RM's current relationship with the City of Prince Albert?
Well, we already, oops, is that on?
Not yet.
Yes. The RM. Well, the green light's on. Sure. Oh. The RM. The light was on, but the RM. Thank you. The RM already has a very strong working relationship with the city. I sat on the PA RETA organization and steering committee since day one. We've always had regular meetings with city officials, the mayors, and many of the councillors. The most important thing is to keep openly talking and meeting with them and trying to work together for regional economic expansion. The city realizes that it needs the land that's available for big business in the RM of Prince Albert. And we realize that we need the workforce and what the city has to offer to the RM. So we work together, and it's no big, it's not a hard thing to do. We've been working very well together and building this relationship.
Okay, thank you. So for the order for the second question, we'll have Eric respond, followed by Paul, followed by Doug. Just give you a chance to feed the court.
No pulling the cord while I'm talking, you guys.
Yeah, that's Donna's job. If we want to feed the court around to the front, we could. I thought it was a little bit better. You guys are you good with that? Okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
All right, so the question is, Eric, if you get elected, what will be your first priority as Reeve?
Well, there's several. My first priority would be, in the immediate future, to sit down at the council table with the RM Council as Reeve and have a conversation about what we are prepared to offer any potential businesses that are going to come to us through PRETA. The PRETA has stalled slightly just based on the news I'm hearing that there was some issues with the membership and they've got that all straightened out, so it's going to be kicking off pretty quick here. And what we want to have is a professional presentation that we can slide across the table to any businesses that come to us through PRETA, and they will see that we are a viable option in order to do business with. We want to be able to have that ready to go in the can, because once PRETA kicks off, there's going to be tremendous competition from the other communities. It's not just going to be, here you go RMP, take this one, we'll get the next one. That's not happening. What's going to happen is there's going to be some competition there for those tax dollars, those investment dollars that we need desperately in the arm of Prince Albert. So that's my first, what I think I would do as first order of business is to bring the council together on June 13th, if we can do it, and get the new Reeve and new council should be sitting down and discussing where we can make these inroads within PRETA, the offers that we can make to these businesses through when PRETA kicks off.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Paul, the question again. If you get elected, what will be your first priority as Reeve?
Well, first priority would be getting back to council and getting up to speed on everything again. The most important thing that I would like to see is that I would like to reinstate the ratepayers meetings that we have not had in the RMPA for, well, probably 16, 17 years. I'd like to see at least one a year of those, because I'd like to have more input from all the ratepayers, because they're the ones that actually own the arm of Prince Albert. Council was put there to serve them, and I'd like to see a ratepayer meeting at least once, possibly twice a year, to get everyone's viewpoint on everything and what they would like to see being done in their RM.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, Doug, once again, the question is, if you get elected, what will be your first priority as Reeve?
Well, I think one of the first priorities needs to be to reestablish a united council that are willing to work well as a team together and leave any personal differences at the door and get to the table and discuss matters in proper manner and vote on accordingly. And also to deal with pressing legitimate concerns that arise.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Okay, on to the third question. The order of response will be Paul, followed by Eric, followed by Doug. So the third question is, Paul, what do you consider the biggest challenges facing the RM, and how will you overcome these?
Well, it's the same as everywhere else. The biggest challenge in the RM and any RM is the same as the biggest challenge we all have at home. It's having enough finances in place to operate. The arm of Prince Albert is quite unique. We get a very large grant in lieu from the federal government for the penitentiary. They pay no taxes, but we get a huge grant in lieu. If we ever lost the penitentiary, your taxes as ratepayers in the RM would almost double, just to keep things at a status quo. So I would really like to see that we can keep our tax base where it is and not have all our ratepayers paying for all kinds of things that are not needed in the RM. Thank you.
So thank you, Paul. Eric, the question again is, what do you consider the biggest challenges facing the RM, and how will you overcome these?
I think, and I speak for a lot of people that I've talked to over the course of this campaign, crime has to be at the top of the list. The biggest hurdle we have here is the perception of what happens in the RM. Do we want to do business here? Our businesses are getting broken into. I mean, it's never a good public perception to have when you're trying to attract business to come here. what I would do there's two things that I would do right away that could be done effectively and cheaply through action on behalf of council if they'd approve it. And that is to engage with the RCMP directly. We have a vast area to cover geographically. The response times to the community are very, very long sometimes because we have new recruits coming in and they don't understand the land location system. They don't understand how things work. So, especially if they come from out east. So what my plan would be, something simple, just to implement right out of the gate, is to have the recruits who come from Regina, they have to do a community project. Have them come into the community and do a community directory. Not only with the land location, but map out the GPS coordinates or develop some kind of an address number system where they can find these things on a map or through their GPS in the police vehicles. This is something that can be done with no cost to the RM. The community projects that these recruit field trainers do, they are done for free, and we can have it done really easily.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And Doug, finally, the third question is, what do you consider the biggest challenges facing the RM and how will you overcome these?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is to maintain the tax levels and stay within the budgets. One of the ways I think we can deal with that is to entice new economic development into the area and possibly benefit all residents.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, so moving on to the next question. The speaker's order will be Doug, followed by Eric, then followed by Paul. So Doug, what do you think the RM of Prince Albert's biggest strength is?
Well, one of the biggest strengths of our RM is the beauty of it. I think we live in the best RM in the province, or definitely one of them. Being fortunate enough to live right along the river and all along both rivers, there's so much beauty in the country that nobody really takes advantage of, or not to a greater extent. And I think we're very privileged to live where we do.
Thank you. Eric, the same question. What do you think the RM of Prince Albert's biggest strength is?
I think our biggest strength is our geographical location. We are right next door to the third largest city in the province. We are on a highway corridor that leads to the north, where all the resources in this province reside, or most of the resources in this province reside. We've got big resource developments happening all around us. We've got a tremendous opportunity that I think that we are needing to take advantage of, and we're moving in that right direction right now. But what I think our biggest strength is where we are in proximity to resources, to a large center, and to major highway traffic coming through. That's where I think.
Thank you, Eric. And Paul, finally, what do you think the RM of Prince Albert's biggest strength is?
I would say our biggest strength is definitely our location and the large land base surrounding the city of PA. That has, the city itself has most services that the RM needs, as well as having many major highways passing through the RM, so we have lots of highway frontage for future development. And the two rivers that border our RM makes us one of the most unique RMs in the whole province of Saskatchewan. So there's unlimited possibilities for tourism and other things to go on there. And I have to add just one thing. We have already GPS mapped the entire RM, all residences there, so all that information is available to the RCMP or City Police and Fire Department now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. This brings us to the third section of this evening's open forum. This is questions from the audience. How we'll proceed from here is that the audience will have the opportunity to ask questions verbally or on handwritten cards. The format will alternate between an oral question and a handwritten one. Unless you, like most people, you don't really want to stand up and speak, you can write them down and we'll just go written to written, okay? For oral questions, we will have you come up to the podium and you will speak at the mic here. I will select the first person who will ask the oral question. If the questioner does not pose a question immediately, you may be asked to redirect the question, or I might redirect the question. And if you still do not ask a question, then I will simply ask you to take your seat and we'll move on. That's the moderator's privilege. So all candidates will be invited to respond to the question. Each candidate will be given a maximum of, again, 2 minutes to respond. The moderator, that's me, will select a handwritten question from the panel following that one. For written questions, the audience will have the written questions on cards and turn them into the chamber directors, which will be Elise. Angela's hands are full. So Elise, you're it. Okay. So written questions will be handed into Elise. We will place the questions in a box, and then we will draw them randomly. And they will be read out by myself, and the candidates will respond. So again, yellow paddle when you have 30 seconds left, red paddle when time is up. We've already received questions. Oh. So do we need to toss this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Toss them in, shake them around, mix them up a little bit. Okay. All right, so the first question from the firing line is to all candidates: what experience or qualifications do you have that would make you a good candidate for the Reeve of the RN? The response will be given by the following order: Paul first, followed by Doug, followed by Eric. So once again, what experience or qualifications do you have that would make you a good candidate for Reeve of the RN? Paul?
Well, as I've said, I have 13 and a half years of experience on council. I hold my certificate in municipal government. I have been on a first-name basis with our premier and our premier before. I know several MLAs on a first-name basis. I have several government contacts in upper government. I sit as chair of the North Sask River Basin Council. I sit as a director in Regina on Water Security Agency, or the SAW Board, which handles all water issues in the RM as well as the whole province. So I have a lot of connections, I have a lot of experience, and I've got the hands-on experience. The machines that the RM uses to build our roads, I'm certified by the Heavy Construction Association to operate most of them, and besides that, I have the ability and the knowledge to repair them. I know what the RM needs for road building equipment. I know how to build roads and highways from the years that I worked for Department of Highways. I know aggregate. I know quite a bit about hands-on work for everything that the RM does. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Doug, the question once again is: what experience or qualifications do you have that would make you a good candidate for the Reeve of the RM?
Well as being a farmer and a business owner, I grew up at the kitchen table with my father that put 28 years in as Councillor Reeve and eventually president of the SRM. So growing up in my house, it was a lot about council and whose road needed what and why were we doing this and why weren't we doing that. And like I say, it was many years of experience there. Hands-on, not so much. Always tried to help the foreman and councillor and my councillor with any issues that have arisen in my district.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Eric, finally, what experience or qualifications do you have that would make you a good candidate for Reeve of the RM?
Well, first of all, I grew up in this community. I understand how it works. I understand how the community thinks. I was a 13-year member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Traveled, started here in Prince Albert, went to La Loche, went to Lloydminster, went to Nacum. I've got experience policing in different communities in the northern part of this province. I'm also a business owner. I have practical business experience here in the city and elsewhere. I have deep connection to the community, and I have political ties here as well, with both the current government and our municipal politicians. I have farming experience. I've been in multi-generational family farming most of my life. well for my experience, rounding out my experience. So I think that if I'm able to be put in the position of Reeve, I think that I could use all three aspects of my experience to better and further the RM.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody who would like to come up to the mic to express a question themselves orally? If not, we'll move to a written question. Oh, we don't have to come up to the mic. Is that microphone working?
I'm not sure.
It is. Okay, very good. So you don't have to come all the way up here. You can just flag Elise down and she will gladly give you the microphone. But we're going to go to another written question. The speaker's order for this one is Paul, followed by Eric, followed by Doug. So Paul, as you know, acreage owners and commercial businesses do a lot of heavy lifting as far as taxes in the RM. What are your plans to bring these taxes down to a more reasonable rate?
Well, since the first, or actually the second month I went on council, I pushed hard for a second subdivision to be allowed on every home quarter. And I think the more small holdings that we allow in the RM, and I believe it should be more than 2 subdivisions. I would like to see 3 or 4 along major highways, along major grid roads. There is no expense to the RM. There's services there already. The RM doesn't have to build any roads. They don't have to do any grading or graveling or snow plowing. All in all, it's the best way for the RM, except for maybe attracting some new big business, which is hard to do. Let small holdings in, and then our schools are more viable. We don't have to worry about schools shutting down. We need more residents, and as long as it's along major highways and good roads, as I say, there's no cost to the RM at all. It's just a further tax base.
Thank you. So Eric, the question once again, as you know, acreage owners and commercial business do a lot of heavy lifting as far as taxes in the RM. What are your plans to bring these taxes down to a more reasonable rate?
Well, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the answer has to be broadening economic development, not only in the region, but specifically in the RM, because business development in the RM of Buckland or in the city of Prince Albert doesn't translate into tax dollars in the RM coffers. We can't. The residential development is one option, but I think to better serve the community, we should be focusing on business development and development through the new Regional Economic Development Alliance. I think those are key areas where we need to spend our time and develop a proper plan to be able to implement any of those proposals and bring them into our fold in the RM of Prince Albert, not just in Buckland or Prince Albert or any of the surrounding communities that are all part of that Regional Development Alliance. So I think that's where our focus needs to be, and that's where I would focus.
Thank you, Eric. Doug, again, as you know, acreage owners and commercial businesses do a lot of heavy lifting as far as taxes in the RM. What are your plans to bring those taxes down to a more reasonable rate?
Well, fees are like fees, and to bring anything down is always a lot harder to increase for many reasons. But I'd like to see the services received by acreage owners reflect the services that their roads need. The services need to reflect the tax dollars that they're paying. Their roads are a lot more traveled, of course. There's many families living in a small area. So those roads definitely demand more maintenance than a road that's way out in the country and it's only traveled 4 or 5 times a day versus, say, 30 times a day by them. So I'd like to see the services reflected by their tax.
Great, thank you, Doug. Now, do we have anybody from the audience who would like to pose a verbal question? Okay, then we'll go to another written one. This is getting easier as time goes on. Thank you, Elise. So we're going to have the following batting lineup. It'll be Doug, followed by Eric, followed by Paul. Okay, so the question is, what are your views on monitoring council members who choose to ignore provincial laws and regulations for their own benefit? How would you do it?
Well, that's kind of a tricky question. I guess bylaws have to be followed, and if somebody's breaking bylaws, regardless of status, they should be held in check.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Eric, what are your views on monitoring council members who choose to ignore provincial laws and regulations for their own benefit? How would you do it?
The RM Council and RM administration is governed by bylaws. And those bylaws need to be robust, they need to be clear, they need to be concise with causal and effect scenarios. So I've had a chance to review some of the bylaws, and I would say, in my opinion as a former police officer, they're fairly ambiguous and need to be updated and brought into the modern time to be able to deal with some of the issues that that RMs face, not just the RM of Prince Albert. It could be municipal politics within the city or wherever. It is incumbent upon the RM apparatus to have robust rules and regulations that have a clear cause and effect relationship. And I think that should be dealt with as well. I have read the bylaws, as I said, so are some of the bylaws, and they are very, very ambiguous.
Thank you. And Paul, what are your views on monitoring council members who choose to ignore provincial laws and regulations for their own benefit? And how would you do it?
It's not so much to monitor, like council monitors itself, and all decisions made by council. The Reeve has no more power than any individual councillor. He is a figurehead. Council decides what to do, and 4 votes on council runs council, except when you can have a bylaw trying to be passed, then one councillor can stop the bylaw. Now, like the Municipal Act is very archaic. It gets upgraded a little bit here and there. After the big mess in the Arm of Sherwood, where the Reeve was trying to do multi-million-dollar land deals and whatnot, then SARM upgraded, and the municipal government upgraded the Municipal Act in a few small areas. But the whole Act should be upgraded. We get a template from SARM for the bylaws that govern councillors and all members of council, and that's how we abide by them. But for the Reeve himself, the Reeve can advise council members, but it's council that makes all decisions. The Reeve can make no decision by himself, none whatsoever.
Thank you. Again, I'll check and see if there's anybody from the audience who would like to address the candidates directly. Okay. Darn, this caused me no end of grief tonight. All right, the batting order for this next question will be Doug, followed by Paul, followed by Eric. What will you do to increase the RCMP's presence on our roads, especially the 302? How would you entertain the idea of having RM policing team to enhance the rural crime watch and faster response time to emergency calls or suspect activity? And then it says, brackets, I realize this has financial implications. Okay, Doug?
Okay, as most all know, the RCMP falls under the federal jurisdiction. So what we can do as councillors and as council is try to lobby or work through the provincial government and the SARM. That's the 2 avenues that we need to use and utilize. It's in the eyes of SARM right now. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, President Reeve was quite disappointed in the national study that was just recently done on rural crime, and I think they really need to step the plate federally to provide more funding for RCMP and RCMP members.
Thank you, Doug. So Paul, the question once again, what will you do to increase the RCMP's presence on our roads, especially the 302? How would you entertain the idea of having RM policing team to enhance the World Crime Watch and faster response time to emergency calls or suspect activity? Brackets, I realize this has financial implications, brackets.
Well, we have been working steadily with the RCMP. We meet, someone comes down from the RCMP, usually the commander or the second in command, every 2 months and gives a report to the RM Council. We have worked with the RCMP to set up the Rural Crime Watch. The trouble is, the RCMP, they are up to full staff in town here again, but they have a huge area north to cover. And priority is given to northern calls over calls within the RM. So in talking with the RCMP over the years, and then we have been talking with the City of PA and the City of PA Police Department, the RCMP fully, in Prince Albert now, fully supports the RM switching over and buying police services from the City of PA. For the same money that we pay to the RCMP now, we pay about $186,000 a year for RCMP services. So if you ever have to phone the RCMP, know that you're paying for this and you can call them. But 8 to 5, the office is closed, you get an operator in Regina, they have to take the call, they have to relay it back to PA. It takes a long time to get an officer. The city police, they have someone on duty 24 hours a day. For what we're paying now to the RCMP, they would give us a full-time officer, 12 hours a day, 365 days a year. So those negotiations were ongoing. The RCMP, like I said, in Prince Albert fully supported it because they cannot handle everything in the RM. We had RM equipment shot up, and it took 6 days to get an RCMP officer out. By that time, all evidence was gone. They simply do not have the manpower, and they have to take the northern calls first. So they support this, but they said their head office in Ottawa may not support it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Eric, I just won't have this question memorized now. What will you do to increase the RCMP's presence on our roads, especially the 302? How would you entertain the idea of having our own policing team to enhance the Rural Crime Watch and faster response time to emergency calls or suspect activity? Brackets, I realize this has financial implications, brackets.
Well, just to go to one of Paul's points, I can tell you that when I was policing here as a police officer with the RCMP, there was no priority given to the north. It was wherever the calls came, that is where you went. If it was whoever was there first, whichever call came in first, that's where you attended, and it was given priority sequence based on the seriousness of the event. Now, the RCMP is a statistics and intelligence-driven and statistic-driven police force. I had a conversation with one of our plainclothes members there yesterday after our business was broken into for the 50th time over the last 2 months, and they said that by their estimation, less than 50% of the crime in the RM of Prince Albert is being reported. People are just not wanting to be bothered to phone the police because they don't see a measurable result coming immediately. They don't see charges being laid, they don't see people being arrested, they don't see a result immediately. What I can tell you is this. Every time you phone the RCMP, a file is generated, and that generates a stat. And that one stat goes into a database, and that stat is held there. And if you have enough stats, that is what guides the RCMP. They will change, they will bring resources to bear when they see that there is a spike or a surge in criminal activity or in crimes being committed in a certain region. And that means bringing more staff in, that means bringing more patrols in, strategic police patrolling, things like that. So if we we need to convey to the residents and ratepayers of the RM that they need to report absolutely everything, no matter how trivial it is, because it's vitally important to having the correct response or a more robust response from the RCMP. If you don't report it, it's like it never happened. One drop of water doesn't mean much. Many drops of water, you can move mountains. And that's the way statistics work within the RCMP.
Thank you, Eric. I guess we're ready for another question. Anybody from the audience want to verbally raise a question? We had a hand up there, Elise.
I'd like all three candidates for putting themselves forward, because today's political environment, that's really not always a pleasant position to be in. As a ratepayer, I'm interested in what the long-term plan is and how this RM will set some plans out and communicate it, because we, as ratepayers, don't find things out very clearly. It seems haphazard, and if there's an issue, all of a sudden you might get a phone call or you hear from a neighbor. I'm wondering why we cannot receive an email or something like that. So I'm wondering what you as a candidate are going to do for a longer term plan, so that we don't end up our own situation where one day we're told we don't have a road adjacent to our property, next day we're told there's going to be a road built, then there's no road, then situation, they're going to build a road there. So it seems like it depends who's in council. There doesn't seem to be a plan. Yet when you talk to council members, you realize they're caring people and they're in there. But I think we need to hear something in terms of better planning.
So is your question, to do a summary, is that what will the candidate do to ensure that there's communication regarding a long-term plan?
Two things.
Two things?
Plan and communication.
Plan and communication. Okay, so the order for this one will be Eric. We'll start with you, followed by Paul, followed by Doug. So the 2 points the gentleman raised are, what do you plan to do, or how will you bring about a long-term plan, and how will you communicate that plan? Is that a fair summary of your question, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it should be apparent, I hope, by the way I've structured my campaign, that I would be working within council, with council, to try to better create transparency within the RM of Prince Albert. And that can be done through something as simple as our website. The website in the RM of Prince Albert, I don't know if anybody here has navigated it lately. It's pretty archaic, and it's not easily navigated. It's not something that's appealing to the eye. It's something that can be worked on. I understand it's being worked on now, and that can be furthered. But I think that we need to start possibly looking at posting everything on our website, so that people have access to what we're doing. The agenda to the RM meetings, that possibly could be posted on the website. The grader schedule, that could be possibly posted on the website. The stuff that we can communicate, even people don't always use the internet. So things like mail-outs, newsletter, something like that is not prohibitively costly, that can be done to communicate to people that don't always have access to internet or internet connection or technology. And Facebook is another boon for communicating to people in the modern day. So I think that greater transparency has to be one of the items that needs to be brought to council, and council needs to visit it and formulate a plan on how that can be accomplished.
Thank you. Paul, the 2 points. What will you do to ensure that there's long-term planning in place, and how will you ensure communication around that plan?
Well, the RM of Prince Albert was one of the first RMs to have the official community plan. It started in 1953, and it is used as an example at SARM all the time, because we were one of the first working with the RM of Buckland and the city of Prince Albert. We are a really good example of cooperation between urban and rural. Now, our RM, we have a road building plan for every year, and what it is, each councillor brings his wish list in as his ratepayers' request to him, because the councillors are supposed to be the liaison between the ratepayers and the council. They bring the wish list in, and then council decides which roads are needed the most and which have the heaviest traffic, the bus routes, most houses on. And when we build as many as we can, and then we turn over and start building the secondary roads and the machinery roads and the trails. And as far as communication goes, Better communication is always needed and can always be improved. We all know that. In the world now with all the media and everything else, we can always improve our communication and it can be faster. This comes down to like the ratepayers meetings. We should have our ratepayers meetings again. They are needed, and the ratepayers can ask these questions to all of council sitting right there, and you will get an answer there. But we haven't had that for 15 or 16 or 17 years, and I really think that needs to come back.
Thank you. And Doug, what would you do to ensure that there are long-term plans put in place, and how would you go about ensuring communication regarding plans?
Communication is definitely key. One thing I think that could be implemented would be a Facebook page. Most people now are pretty up to date. I don't know how that would go over. I think it would have to be debated and do some due diligence on it. But that and or a mass email program. Of course, you would have to get permission to use your email address. It's not just something that could be accessed or pirated, but there could be a mass email sent out to everybody, and if it's very important or pertaining to the ratepayers of the RM.
Thank you.
Just going to pause for a minute.